Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. This podcast is hosted by Laura Amin, a voracious reader of romance and young adult novels. In this podcast, Laura interviews fellow readers and authors and asks them for book recommendations of what we should read next. We hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the show, guys. So happy to have you here. Before we get to today's book recommendation, I want to share a few words about Book of the Month. Book of the Month is a monthly subscription box that costs $14.95. This box only comes with a hardcover new release book. Some of the books that I read over the past couple of months include The Book of Essie, When Katie Met Cassidy, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Fashion Victim, How to Walk Away. If you're interested in signing up and getting a free book, please go to whattoreadnextblog.com/bookofthemonth. Now let's get to today's show. Today's guest is Angela from bookstagram account AngelaReadsBooks. In this episode, we dive into Angela's book recommendations, which is a lot of adult fiction books. Angela is also the co-creator of the Big Book Buddy Read. In this episode, we chat about bookstagram and Angela's go-to book recommendation. Now let's get to the show. Hey, Angela, welcome to What to Read Next podcast. So happy to have you here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have this opportunity to chat with you today.
I'm so excited. So we met on Bookstagram, which is our little community on Instagram, and it's all about books. So I love your recommendations. So I'd love to hear more about them and share them with my audience.
Fantastic.
So tell us who you are and basically what's your book life community looks like, or your books community looks like.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Angela, and you can find me under the handle AngelaReadsBooks on Instagram. And when I think about a little bit of who I am, first and foremost, I think of myself as a communicator, a writer, and a lover of books. And so that I bring that passion and that part of myself into the book community on Instagram.
I love it. And you've been involved in the bookstagram community. How long have you been involved?
I actually jumped in. It was the end of 2017, December, probably a couple of days actually before 2018. I was thinking about New Year's resolutions and came across the unread shelf, another woman on Bookstagram, and she was talking about reading our unread books for 2018. And I took a look around my living room and, like any book lover, have, over 100 unread books. And so I was like, let me, find a way to keep track of that. So it really just started as a personal hobby, kind of my personal journal of the books that I was reading.
I love it. And I love following your journey, because you've gone from Unread Shelf to Net Gallery-thon and Big Book Buddy Read, which we'll talk about that later. So you've evolved over the past 6 months. It's been amazing. Or 8 months. It's been amazing.
Yeah, it's been a ton of fun.
What has been your biggest takeaway from being in the bookstagram community?
Oh, yeah. I started just because I loved books, and I didn't want to fill my personal Instagram account with all these pictures of books because I wasn't sure, how much interested my personal friends would have in that. And from that, I really fell in love with the community. I first and foremost love books, love reading. But the thing that really took me by surprise was how embracing the Bookstagram community is, how many wonderful people there are, how many wonderful relationships have developed from that, and just these really great people that I've gotten to know. So it really is so much more than taking pictures of books or talking about books or sharing reviews, but it really is kind of this beautiful corner of the internet.
Yes, indeed. So what would you share someone who's thinking of joining bookstagram community or starting out?
I would just say jump into it. Tag me in a post and say, hey, I'm new here on Bookstagram. Connect me with some people. I just find that as soon as you jump in, people are ready to embrace you and to make you a part of the community.
Yeah, that's so true. I think the community is so welcoming. I love it. I love the shout outs. I love the fact that we can share our books and be like, yeah, I definitely read this, or you're inspiring me to read this book or pick it up. So it's kind of neat to find that community there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So talk to us a big book buddy read. What inspired you to get started?
Yeah, so it actually totally started by accident, which I think some of the great things kind of just you stumble upon. Uh,
Mhm.
Christina Stephanie Reads, that's her handle on Bookstagram. So Christina had posted this picture of several different books that she had on her shelf that she really wanted to read. And they were these thicker, longer books that we tend to be intimidated by, like, oh, I really want to read this book. I really know that I need to read this book. And I keep hearing so many great things about it, but I'm so intimidated by it because it's 5, 6, 7, 800 pages long. So she posted this picture, and I think in the picture it had the Hearts Invisible series, the Goldfinch, Pachinko, and I think Outlander was the other book in the picture. And so I just happened upon this picture because we had been friends following each other on Instagram. And I commented on her picture and I just was like, I actually have those same books too, and I haven't read them yet either. So let's read them together. And so she messaged me and we kind of messaged back and forth. And we're like, yeah, let's read these books. And then we were like, well, maybe other people haven't read them and want some encouragement, some support, some community to read them too. So we actually kicked off in April of this past year with the Hearts Invisible series, and we just kind of put it out there. We decided to give it a cute little name, called it the Big Book Buddy Read, because we focus on books that are thicker, longer books that intimidate us. And we're just like, hey, who else wants to read this book? And we were surprised. We really thought maybe one or two other people would be interested in reading along with us. And I think that first month in April, we had probably 40 other people reading the Hearts Invisible series with us. And then it's just grown from there.
That's amazing. And how can we join you if you want to join in the fun?
Absolutely. Well, this past month in September, we read the Book Thief, and that was a great book. And then coming up in the month of October, we're reading A Little Life. And that is just one of those books that you see on Instagram all the time. People are always talking about it. And I've heard that it's a pretty heavy, pretty emotional book. So in October, we're reading A Little Life. We're kicking that off right away. And one of the things that I love about our Buddy Reads is we actually have our conversations almost completely through chat.
Okay.
So we set up all of our Buddy Reads in the private message feature, and Instagram allows us to, I think, put like 30 people in a chat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess the best way to get involved is to either reach out to me, Angela Reads Books, or Christina at Christina Stephanie Reads, and we'll add you right into the group message. And for me, it's really kept me focused on reading the book, and I've really gotten to know a lot of other readers in a deeper way.
Yeah, it's really fun. I've buddy read a couple books over the past summer. It's been quite an awesome experience to share about the books, to know like all the feels that happen. You're like, it's a good book, it's a bad book. Am I struggling with it? I find that that's a really enjoyable experience to share.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's talk about your reading life. When do you read?
I work a full-time job, and so it really is hard for me to read during the week.
Mm-hmm.
I'll in the evenings throw in maybe a half hour go of reading, but the bulk of my reading really happens on the weekend. I like to carve out time to, I guess, like recover from the week as kind of my escape. And just really will read for 2, 3, 4 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Yeah, I love it. What do you love most about reading?
I think the thing that I love the most about reading is that it is an escape. And there's something about reading that just really makes me slow down in a world where, we all have so many notifications on social media, all the advertising, the TV shows, the things on our schedules. The act of sitting down with a book for an hour, for 2 hours, for more than that, really seems sort of counterintuitive to our culture. And just the act of sitting there and slowing down and reading is not only an escape, but kind of like a meditative practice for me.
Yeah. So what would you like your reading life to be different? Like, what would be your ideal world, your reading life to look like?
I mean, like everyone, I absolutely wish I had more time to read. I wish that I could somehow be paid to read books and talk about them, like me and, 1,000 other people. So if I ever find that job, I'm not telling anyone else where it is. I'm going to take it first. But so more time would be amazing.
I love it. I would like to be a professional reader. That's what I'm working towards here. So.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's the dream.
So now we're heading to the book recommendation phase. So I'm going to ask you a few questions about book recommendations, about books and whatnot, and you get to share your answers. So what's your favorite genre?
I have a lot of genres I read, but I always go back to women's fiction, just any book that features a strong female character. It could be lighthearted, it could be kind of heavier, but women's fiction is definitely my go-to.
I love it. What's your top 3 favorite books of all time?
Oh man, that is so hard. I think I'm going to go with a few. I'm going to go with a few that I don't feel like necessarily get as much attention on bookstagram, ones that I haven't seen people mention as much. I love The Invention of Wings by Sue Monk Kidd and Valley of the Moon. I think it's by Melanie Gideon. And then Happiness for Beginners. I think that's the title of it, by Catherine Center. A lot of people talked a lot about her recent release, How to Walk Away, and I loved that one, but I love this other one even more. Those are, I think, some of my like top 3 if I'm going to recommend a book.
I love it.
One of those 3.
I'm actually currently reading How to Walk Away. I just started this morning, so I'm curious.
Oh,
yeah. So I heard good things about it. It's been mentioned in the podcast a couple of times. So I was like, I'm going to pick it up. I was told it was a strong female protagonist, so I'm curious to hear her other work now. I'm like, maybe check it out. Maybe have an author binge for a while.
Yeah, and I do love that one for sure. It was a really good one. But Happiness for Beginners was just, I think I just read it at a time in my life that it really was impactful to me too.
That's awesome. So who are your go-to authors? Which authors are your auto-buy?
A few of my go-to authors, and I think you'll see kind of the women's fiction thread in a lot of these names. I love Kristen Hanna. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid, Amy Reichert, and Sue Monk Kidd. Those are if they have a book coming out, it is in my list. I have pre-ordered it, and I am reading it as soon as it arrives to my house.
Yeah, Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my auto-buys. It's one of the few authors I actually do have most of her books, which is kind of interesting because I don't
Mm-hmm.
own other books for myself, so it's kind of fun. And I've been itching to read The Nightingale for Kristen Hanna. I've heard so many great things about it, so I think I may be reading it in the next few weeks. That's one of the books I'm looking forward to.
Awesome. Yeah. She's great.
It's great. So, favorite books that you read in 2018 so far?
I have three that I read kind of over the summer. They were new releases. I had arcs of them, and all summer long, these are the ones that I was recommending to people. The first one is the Simple Wild, set in Alaska, kind of a story about a guy and a girl and how they meet. And it really was, though, so much more than that. So that's one that I recommend all the time. Also, The Lido. It was very reminiscent of kind of a Frederick Bachman story. And the characters just really, really grabbed me. And then the one that I've been talking about a ton, and I think others have been talking about as well, is Where the Crawdads Sing. If there was a book that I could say was close to perfection in my mind, that would be the one. It just blew me away.
Yeah, I have When the Crawdads Sings. I have it on my queue for the library, so I'm looking forward to it because I keep hearing all these great reviews about it. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I do own the Lido as an arc. And I picked it up a couple of times, and I'm like, I'm just like not ready for it, and I'm like, I may pick it up in the next few weeks too. So it's good to hear that it's a fun book to read.
Awesome. Yeah. They're so good.
Yeah. What's the most disappointing read?
My most disappointed read was probably The Incendiaries.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of hype around that book, I think, and the concept of it sounded really interesting. My background is religious education, so anything that has to do with religion and cults and all of that is going to grab my attention. But the reading of it, I just found it really hard to get into. I didn't really connect with the characters, and I really felt like the story was scattered. So unfortunately, that one was a disappointment for me. I think it was a good concept, but just didn't engage me as a reader.
Yeah, that book has a lot of mixed reviews. I saw it a lot in bookstagram before it was released, and then the reviews started pouring in. It's some people love it, some people hate it, some people are in between. So it's definitely a polarizing book.
Yeah, that was definitely one where it was mixed reviews. Some people did really love it, and then others really were kind of more disappointed by it. So it's interesting discussion for sure.
That is interesting. So what book should my listeners pick up and add into their TBR?
I would say it's my three favorites of 2018. If there were kind of three books that were recent releases that people should read right away, it's got to be Where the Crawdads Sing, The Lido, and The Simple Wild. All three of those were just effortless to read, engaged me right away, and the stories were compelling and interesting, and in a lot of ways, I think a lot of them kind of took me by surprise in the direction and development of the arc of the story. So definitely those three.
I love it. And I'll be adding them to my TBR, so I'm excited. So totally self-serving. So tell us where you can find you online.
As I said before, I am on Instagram as AngelaReadsBooks. I have kind of a Facebook page under that same name, Angela Reads Books, and then my reviews on Goodreads is Angela Reading Books because someone had already taken my name. So those are they're kind of all the same thing, but those are the places where I hang out the most: Goodreads and Instagram.
I love it. Thank you so much for being in the show.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity to chat about books.
Thank you, Angela, for a great list of book recommendations. For show notes and a detailed list of book recommendations mentioned in this podcast, please go to whattoreadnextblog.com. If you would like to support this podcast, please consider leaving a review on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. It only takes 2 minutes and it helps this podcast get discovered by other bookish friends. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a fantastic day.